Hey, good evening. We're just driving to the studio. Well, not driving, I will drive in the moment. But I've got with me the one and only Danny Walsh. Yay!
Hello.
He kind of comes in and out of comedy. He's a parent like me. How many kids have you got?
Three.
Three! Yes! Three is the best number because you probably, even if you are, I'm a single parent, he is too. Even if you're in the partnership, you feel outnumbered. It's the best number of children to have. And so Danny and I are going to talk about being in comedy and building resilience through doing all those, enduring all the bullying and harassment by the audiences, and starting with gong shows and knockouts. I mean, not knockouts like no, that's like knockouts as games, and yeah. So you go, I'll drive, but I'll ask you questions. This is so much fun. So how many gong shows have you done?
Well, I've done one a few times. So I've done the blackout quite a few times.
Oh, the up the creek. That's my favorite. Yeah.
So, I like the blackout a lot.
Yeah, me too.
But I've done blackout. I've done beat the frog. I've done the comedy store King Gong.
Yeah, so the monster. Yeah.
I've done the top secret gong show as well.
Are you kidding me? I didn't know they did gong shows at Top Secret.
I think they're just about to start back up again.
Nice.
I think they took a break for a while, but yeah, they do gong shows at Top Secret as well.
Nice, yeah.
I've had mixed bag of results. I've beaten some, and I've been beaten down by more.
When you say beaten down, oh come on, describe it. I mean, I don't want to take you back there emotionally and psychologically, but tell us what it's like when you get drunken people vote you off.
Yeah, it's really horrible. You start to question all your life choices.
All your life choices, all of them. That's all right.
You go there with what you think is your best five. Really strong material. There's no way anybody could hate this, and then you see the third card go up, and
it's always three, isn't it?
Yes, it's always three. But when you see that third card go up and you hear the time, because for a brief moment you think, oh well, I nearly made it. And then they say 1 minute 22, and you're like, oh. I wasn't anywhere close. So it's really quite soul destroying, because you've got to go back, you've got to try again. But as I was telling you before, my 7th gig was a King Gong.
You are kidding me. That is brutal. Why do people do that to themselves?
I think it was a mixture of, I like to tell people that I was trying to build resilience, but actually I think I had already built up quite a lot of delusion. Maybe had done relatively well in my first handful of gigs, and then thought, I'll go beat King Gong, and then from there my comedy career is just going to be really, really easy. But yeah, I got less than 2 minutes, I think, on my first go, or like 1.5 minutes on my
There's
first
lots of
go.
people beeping. I don't know what's going on. It's green. It's fine. Oh, they were in the yellow box. Okay, apologies about that. They were in the yellow box, so it was right to beep them. So that was, I went away from there and I was like, okay, I've got more work to do. But I did see a guy who, he had travelled down from the north somewhere, I think maybe Leeds or Manchester or something. And he had that's like 4 hours on the train or something.
He got on the train. He had booked a hotel for the night, and he had a bag of props with him. And travelling light, right? He walked on stage. This is at King Gong, at the Comedy Store, the mecca of comedy. I was 7 gigs in, and I think he'd been going for maybe a couple of years. He walked on, he put his bag on the stage, he spoke into the microphone, and I heard 1 card, 2 card. He said something in response to the 2 cards, and then 3 cards, and he had to pick up his little bag and walk off stage and go back to his hotel room. and just he had to go from there.
So he came all that way down, probably spent about 300 quid
Yeah.
to spend 18 seconds on the stage of the Comedy Store in London.
Yeah. And I've always thought about him. I don't remember his name, but I wonder what that did. You know, maybe you could kind of go two ways from there, can't you? You could either go and quit and forget that you ever did comedy, deny that you've ever even talked into a microphone, or go home, rewrite, make it solid, and then take over. So maybe he's already
and open with one of your best jokes.
Yeah.
That's the key. You know, grab their attention.
Drop the props. Get rid of the props.
Yeah.
I'm not even getting time to use them. I don't want to carry them everywhere.
That's right.
Maybe
it's
implement them into an hour show. But I get it, because my first gig out of lockdown, hadn't gigged for maybe 5-6 months or something like that.
Yes.
I was on the coach to Manchester to do Beat the Frog.
Yes.
Comedy, which is a lovely
I've heard
comedy
about
show.
that. Yes.
But halfway there, I was watching Maria Bamford's special. And I think she's excellent. But what I started to do internally was I was saying, I haven't gigged in 5 months. I'm definitely gonna bomb. I'm definitely gonna bomb.
And you subconsciously influenced the outcome.
I owned it. So there was no way that I was going to do anything other than bomb unless there was some sort of miracle.
No, but you were sabotaging yourself.
Mindset
already.
is everything.
That's it. Yeah.
And also, the audience pick up if you're not confident, and then they don't feel confident. And
that's it. Of course, it is that energy that they see.
It's symbiosis in a way. If I'm going to be a little bit.
But that was a massive learning. I think that's a good one. You know, that's really good. Thank you for sharing that. When was the funniest kind of heckle that you received that I would call still harassment and bullying, but that you found you felt sorry for the person? You know.
Well, one of the times that I failed at King Gong, I'd said I've got 3 kids, and someone shouted, "Are they funnier than you?" And I said, I think right now they probably are, yeah. And that was the only laugh I'd had all the evening.
Oh my God, yes.
Also, I got 2 cards, looked around, and reset the stage and went to walk off, and looked back, and I said, am I finished? And then I heard 3 cards, so I started.
So you were invited.
I started to leave even before I'd actually been carded off.
It is. So what is the kind of cockiness and confidence that you've got to have when you're a comedian? Do you have to find yourself funny? What do you think? When do you do the best sets?
I think confidence and cockiness are different things. I think cockiness can go the wrong way unless it's part of an obvious character.
That's it.
Unless
it's a character
choice, or your persona choice, then that's obviously fine. But it's got to be clear that it's character. I think otherwise you could just be disliked quite quickly for being just too cocky. But it's in the same way, the other direction. You know, nervousness can be a really good persona trait if used right. But if you're actually nervous, they pick up on that very easily. Yes,
nervousness, and when you act it out, they're curious. It kind of causes them to feel curious and more superior to the act. That's an interesting one.
There's a great act. I've seen him a few times now at Moth Club. He's called Freddie Meredith, and he plays with sort of like, I wouldn't even say it's nervousness, but it's sort of like a second guessing, confident, but also then immediately not confident about what he's just said. It's quite he's a really good actor. He's one of my favourites, I think, actually.
To what extent is authenticity important? When you mentioned acting, and I always wonder now, because when I'm looking at some people, I know they're acting because they are pretending to be somebody else they're not. But also, what I've also noticed, some of them are copycats, and it's so obvious they're copying something that they've seen work somewhere else, and that's their. And I kind of find that a shame, because I'm sure that their authentic self has more to offer. So that acting out and being authentic, what would you kind of call it in terms of is balancing of any kind good, or what would you choose? To act out, be somebody else you're not, or to stay as authentic and true to yourself as possible?
It's quite an interesting question, because if you're going to play it as this is who I am, people will soon pick up. It goes again to if this is a persona character choice, then that's different. But you've still got to be authentic. You've got to do your research. You can't say I'm doing this character if you know nothing about that subject matter. Say for example, somebody who's actually quite well off doing a working class character, but they're only going on stereotypes or lazy,
isn't that punching down,
lazy
really?
cliches. It's not even if they're punching down, it's just it won't be authentic. But that doesn't mean that it won't work.
Necessarily. Got it,
but there's the other way around. It's just the same. Even if a working class character was doing a working class comedian was doing a posh character, if they're only going on what they think without actually doing any work of actually getting to know who this character is, it's still not gonna. You can't just have, oh, this guy's posh as a thing. There's got to be some more to it. There's got to be something else. Maybe they're posh, but they, I don't know,
they have some inner idiot.
Obsessed with cars, or there has to be some extra layer to it. Otherwise, it's just. I mean, same as even if you're being yourself. If there's not, if you're 2D, you're not going to stand out. One way or another.
So, what is your kind of take? Because you've been hosting as well. You used to have your own gig as well.
I used to run some gigs before.
So, what's the difference between hosting and actually just being an actor for you from being a comedian perspective? What's your role as a host, MC, and what's your role if you're just opener or middle act or something, or headliner?
For me personally, I think hosting actually helped me find a new aspect of my act.
Yes, nice. I like that.
I was quite scripted when I first started. I used to write out a whole script, memorize it word for word, and then if I lost my way or if I did a little bit of audience interaction, I'd be lost, completely lost, and then just freeze and blank. So eventually I used to have to obviously whittle that down into prompts, but still it was still quite formulaic. But when I started to host, it was a lot more free. I learned that there could be nights where I wouldn't even do a little bit of my material. I would just do it chatty, in the moment stuff. And my partner actually prefers to come and watch me if I'm hosting than if
I
I'm
can see that
doing a set.
because I can see you being quite warm and personable.
So a bit more cheeky. I think there's it's just a little bit more chatty, and she describes it as it's closer to the person she lives with. Rather than just a stand-up telling pre-written jokes that she knows are pre-written. Especially if she's come to gigs where I'm working on the same material, and she's come to those more than twice, she knows what's coming next. But then that allows a little bit of fun for me, because sometimes I'll throw out a different line, and nobody else knows but her that it's different. And then I make her laugh because she's not expecting it. But when she comes to see me host, that's different every time, and she likes that. And I think there's an aspect of that I like, is that of course you've got to be in charge. You've got to keep the show running. You've got to make sure you're not making it about you, because that's quite easy, especially if you are doing well with the audience. If you've gained some sort of understanding with them, there's such a big temptation to just say, well, I'm just going to stay up here for a bit then.
You've just reminded me of the last mistake I made. Yes, thanks for that.
It's easy. It's easy to do. It's easy to do.
Yeah,
I'm just going to stay up here for a while.
Because it's working well.
And you've got an act at the back going, you know, I've got to get to XYZ comedy club right now. So you're like, yeah, but don't you see they love me? Like,
that's right.
You're cancelled.
Oh God!
I found my
so
people
guilty.
here. You're so selfish. Just go to your other gig.
That's where I go now. We'll
Yeah.
be all right without you. Oh no!
Yeah. So it can happen, but
It can, yes, yes.
So it takes a bit of discipline. It takes a little bit of empathy.
I like that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You need to have some level of improv.
That's it, yeah.
There are times where I've fallen into the trap of just, you know, and you know, you need this as a host, but just fall into the trap of, what's your name, what do you do? And there have been
Yes.
times
That's so
where
boring. Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
so not in the moment that I've literally just gone along the front row, asked them all that question,
Yes.
and done nothing with it because I'm distracted by
Yes.
my kid's sick, or you know, I've just
Yes, yes.
had this problem at work or whatever. And really and truly, I should have. It's taken some time, but you can learn how to switch off your actual brain
Yes.
and turn on the comedy brain. It's only for a
Yeah.
couple of hours.
Yes.
You can pick up your problems again at the end of the night.
That's
but
right,
in the
yeah.
beginning, especially, I found that really hard to do. Well, no, not so much in the beginning. I've had this sort of. So for a while, I tried to create a persona that was still me, but not me.
Yeah.
And then I would just go on stage as me,
Okay.
fully, no persona, no exaggeration of anything.
Yes.
But that was problematic because if I'd had a bad day, then so is the person who's performing, and that would just come out.
Yes.
So
yes.
I think the last couple of years have been, again, very in and out in the last couple of years. Had a lot of stuff going on. My job is very rewarding but also draining.
Yes. What do you do, if you don't mind me asking?
I work with drug addicts. I work with people, trying to help them either control or stop problematic.
Right.
drug
So is
use.
this with kind of is this through some organisation or
Yes,
charity?
so we are. It's a national organisation.
Yes.
It's a mixture of charity but also government funded.
Yes.
But we are, you know, like we're the local drug and alcohol centre. It's a, you know, a proper health organisation. It's not
Yes.
just like a company that's been set up. You know, they have been going for a long time.
Wow.
So I've just been recently. I've spent about 7 months with non-opiate clients.
What does that mean? Sorry, I don't
So
know.
opiates are
yeah.
opiates. So heroin is an opiate.
Oh, heroin is an opiate. Okay, yeah.
Just taking a swift turn in the recording, by the way.
No, it doesn't matter. This is all irrelevant, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
because I reckon a lot of performing artists are, starting from Hollywood to, you know, well, even comedians, I mean, they talk about it in their sets, so I would assume that they've had experiences. So it's relevant anyway, yes. It is a kind of like heckle, the drugs, yeah. So opiates are heroin, and what else?
And your synthetic opiates, even like codeine or, you know, fentanyl.
Codeine. I've had, I've had cocodamol. That's
that's fine.
Is that that's a painkiller? Yeah.
Yeah,
But that's also opiate.
It all comes from.
Wow, I didn't know
In one way
that.
or another, it all comes from opium.
Oh.
But the synthetic ones like codeine and fentanyl and things like that, they're all man-made, really.
Yes,
They've all been derived from that. Whereas heroin is still sort of comes directly from the opium.
I've had illegal heroin. I had morphine.
Yeah, morphine is.
And
a
you know,
version
I
of
can
that,
actually see how addictive it can be, because when I broke my leg skiing, and I was in so much pain, and the nurse just came like
Yeah.
hit this leg with, and it was just like, oh my god.
Yeah.
It was like for that 10 seconds you just feel like
Well, most of
but it's not addictive. Morphine, whatever it's called. Yeah.
80% of people, I think it's 80%. 80%
Yes.
of people who use heroin problematically, who
Yes.
it becomes the first thing they think about when they wake up, and it's the last thing they do before they fall asleep.
Yes.
You can trace back to some sort of childhood pain, emotional
That's it.
pain.
Yeah. Yes.
And
Yes.
from the training I've had, from people I've spoken to and worked with, the feeling of it is it literally almost like a blanket
Yes.
that separates you in a way that an actual blanket will separate you from the cold and warm you up.
Yes.
Heroin does that to your emotions.
Oh,
if
it
you've
gives
got
you like an
trauma,
invisible hug.
It's almost like
That's so sad.
yeah.
Oh, I'm a hugger, and I know the benefits of the physical hug. I'd never
Yeah.
take a drug instead of a hug.
But I mean, you know, different people fall into it at different times of their life, different
Yes.
drugs. So I've just spent 7 months working with non-opiate, which is
What's the other thing? Yeah.
everything else really. So
Including weed.
cannabis,
Yes, okay.
crystal meth, cocaine, crack, GHB,
What is GHB?
GBL.
What's
So GHB is a drug that people use. Usually it goes hand in hand with crystal meth.
Oh,
Um,
That's
it
the one
is-
where you see people lose their teeth. That's definitely it. Yeah.
So they, this is it's quite prevalent in amongst gay men.
Oh.
These two.
Okay.
One sort of it's an amphetamine, and it sort of boosts you, gives you energy.
Right.
And the other one is muscle relaxant. So they're used in what is known as chemsex, where people, you know, have chemical sex. Basically, they all use these drugs together, and they have sex on it. And people can become, once people stop using the drugs, they have to learn how to have sex again without them. And things like that.
And
So it's quite
intimacy
complicated.
and stuff like that.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's almost like a two. Yeah.
But so they find it hard to quit because, I mean, a young person who wants to have sex is, if they think, oh well, I can't have sex for 6 months unless I keep using this drug. And
Yes.
it becomes very complicated. But thankfully,
Gosh.
there are a lot of organisations out there that help that sort of
Yes.
thing.
Yes.
With that sort of specific drug use, there are chemsex clinics, there are club drug clinics, London Friend, ELOP, lots of organisations to help support people going through that
Yes.
sort of
So what is
struggle.
it? What do you do then? So you worked for 7 months with non-opiates
Yeah,
addicts.
yeah.
And what is it like? I mean, tell me, what is your, do you have a program during the 7 months, or do you kind of have ad hoc support?
Well, it's person-centred, so everybody who comes through the door, even if they're using a substance that someone else uses, we
Yes.
treat their case as an individual case. So there's no like
There, of course, and it is. Yes. Yes.
treatment. So say for example, someone might come in and they used to smoke cannabis on the weekends, but now it's become, as soon as they wake up, they want to smoke cannabis, and it's got out of control. So with that person, you'd offer them an initial amount of sessions. You would create a recovery plan with them. You'd first work on reduction,
Yes.
then you'd work on achieving abstinence, and then you'd work on maintaining abstinence. We've got groups that people can attend for free if they're not working. We know where to signpost them for other support if they need mental health stuff. Where it gets complicated is where there are safeguarding issues. So if someone's at risk of harm,
Okay. How do you know that?
investigating, talking, monitoring, motivational interventions.
Because they wouldn't really tell you that if they are.
What studies have found is that if these questions are asked at the point of assessment, I think you're 50% more likely to get the honest answer. And the thing is, often they might be referred in by a social worker, they might be referred in by a mental health worker, so the information comes to us and we don't have to find it out.
Yes.
Sometimes it might just be there are certain things we have to ask about, and they can refuse, but if we operate with confidentiality.
Yes, of course, yeah.
But we can supersede that if we think there's a safeguarding risk.
I think that should be with every human being.
Yeah.
As soon as you see somebody is in danger of harming themselves or somebody else, you've got to report it, help out.
If there's a risk of immediate crime or something like that, we are obligated. We will ask your consent, but if you refuse and we discuss it as a team and we say no, this is, we can do this without consent, we can go ahead and do it without consent. So I think my caseload has actually had the highest number of safeguarding issues in the team, which is interesting considering I have the non-opiate caseload. So it's been interesting. I feel like I've grown a lot with it because I actually beforehand worked with more complex clients.
Yes.
People are homeless, plus mental health needs, plus poly drug use, using heroin and crack, and so these were my clients before. So I actually was like, oh, the non-opiate caseload is going to be so easy.
So much easier, yes, you'd imagine, yes.
Down. But it was a higher caseload. I was the only non-opiate worker in
so everything has to go through you,
So anybody who used anything, so the alcohol and non-opiate team, I was the non-opiate team within that wider team. If they use alcohol, there are about 4 workers that they could be allocated to. If they used alcohol plus something else, they would come to me.
Right.
It's been fun, and I've done some really I've seen some really great progress from some people, and it's really rewarding to help guide someone through that, because at the end of the day I do tell them and remind them, I'm not here to make the progress for you, I'm just here to sort of guide you through it. I can tell you how to get there, but if you walk out the door and ignore everything I've said today, in 6 sessions time you're still going to be at the same place. So your progress is up to you, and some people have taken that and ran with it, and it's been really lovely to see. Some people are really frustrated with it because they won't engage. You go to sort of maybe close the case because they're not engaging. Then they'll call and say, why are you closing my case?
They want
and
to.
you're just literally chasing someone for 6 months, and it's been quite frustrating with a handful of people, but generally the ones that you can help make it a little bit more worth it.
Did you have cases where you've actually continue? Sorry, interrupt.
I was just going to say that I'm just about to move to the opiate team.
Oh right, gosh.
Next week, so completely new challenge, completely new type of client.
Okay, yes. I am. We are just experiencing a massive traffic jam, which happens every time I'm driving up.
Really?
And it's always around Luton Airport, and I don't know why. It's really interesting. It happens every single Tuesday. I've never had a clear all the way. This bit is always like this. I don't know if it's just Tuesdays, if it's just between 6 and 7, whatever. But it probably is, because it is a rush hour. So So we're driving a bit slower, but we're still okay to arrive on time. And did you have a case? I mean, I hope so, or several, or many, where actually they've just kind of turned their life around, and you kind of see, oh my gosh, that was like a joint team effort. Amazing.
No, there's been a few, but I mean, again, with the non-opiate caseload, it's not so much a life turnaround, because most of them, and again, this is part of the frustration, is most of them are functioning.
Functioning is a good word, isn't it? We're all functioning.
But, I mean, they're still at work, or if they're not working, they're still managing to get through their life. Things have not completely fallen apart for them, and maybe 70% are like that.
Yeah.
The rest, their life is a mess, but they're still not willing or not able. And again, sometimes this comes into capacity, sometimes it comes into how much have they actually going on, how entrenched is this lifestyle. Maybe they do need a more complex worker, or maybe they have a mental health need, but their substance use is stopping them from being able to receive that treatment.
Yes.
And they keep getting bounced back to us.
Yes. Yeah.
But they're not actually going to make any progress with their drug use, because their mental health is why they use drugs. So maybe they need that tandem pincer approach. But the mental health teams can be very difficult to accept that offer of why don't let's co-work on this client, open them up.
Okay, yeah, because it's not just one thing. Often it's quite complex, isn't it?
We get dumped on. That sounds really bad, but I feel like all the other organisations can really put a lot on the drug and alcohol clients, on the drug and alcohol teams.
Yes.
Social workers sometimes, when they find out that someone's using drugs or alcohol, they can be like, okay, well, go there and they can help you out.
Yes.
Mental health teams, as soon as they find out, they're like, oh, brilliant, you can go there and they can help you out. Where I have had a few associated professionals, as we would say, who've been really, really fantastic and really do want to co-work. They will send me updates, they will ask me for updates. We really create plans together for our clients.
Yeah.
And that is when you get the best work done, really.
Yes.
When you're all working together.
And where you don't feel so much exposed, you also feel supported, because I would imagine some of that rubs off on you as well. Because somebody said to me, because I'm a natural empath, apparently difference between being empathetic towards something and compassionate is actually being able to put that curtain between. So empaths run all the emotions of the person they're talking to through their machina, and they make themselves sick. Where feeling compassion, you just kind of, there is a distinguishment, you don't allow that energy to affect your own mental and physical health. So how do you find it? I mean, are you all right doing that job? Does anybody ask you?
No, my managers have had to sort of give me tips on it, really, because I usually carry a lot.
Yes.
Try to help people more than they're trying to help themselves sometimes.
Yes.
And so they've kind of been teaching me how to put that wall up a little bit, not to the detriment of my clients, but to the benefit of myself.
Yes.
I had a couple of weeks off at the beginning of the year.
Yes.
Just because I'd had my Christmas break and all of that, and I think I didn't realise how heavy the load I was carrying until it came time to going back to work. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute, there's all that stuff. Because I kind of pushed it aside to enjoy Christmas and New Year and all of that sort of stuff.
Yes.
And when it came back to my first day back at work, I just...
blockage, huh?
I mean, it started with a couple nights of bad sleep, which couldn't be helped. But sometimes that's all it takes to sort of knock things off balance. And
the lack of sleep was used as torture.
Yeah.
What else do we need to say?
The idea of going back to work was just a nightmare, and I just couldn't really get out of the house. It got to the point where I was trying to go to work. I'd get as far as the station, and I had to go back home. But they were
and was it a particular case, or was it just...
No, just carrying a bunch of cases, a bunch of things from different people.
Yes.
So many, worrying more about some people's issues than they did.
They did, because they're not aware, really.
No.
Wow. And really hats off to you for doing that. I would probably find it would just... I'm that kind of person who would probably kick me into depression,
Yeah.
Wow.
But this is a really good team that I'm working with, and when I came back from that period at the beginning of the year, They were so supportive about it. They checked in with me really, really well.
Yes.
They helped me to find solutions that work for me for A, trying to get back on track, B, to avoid it in future.
Yeah.
And then I think they thought a lot of me because I'd just come back from that period, and then I had my interview for this job that I'm about to start, and still did really well with it. And the manager had said to me, we should have given you a couple of days off, a couple of days extension, but we still want to offer you the job. So in future, if someone's going through something like I have, but they've got an interview, maybe my experience would inform them being given a little bit of space and being able to collect themselves a bit and get back to their best. When you've got a good team around you, when everyone, like we have meetings called MDTs, multidisciplinary team discussion. Everybody chips in. Even people who are not involved in the case are allowed to be heard. No one is shut down. No one is made to feel like their voice is stupid or anything like that. And we really do come to team decisions. The manager I've been working with has been really, really helpful. Happy to see me grow. Happy for me to move on. You know, it could be bitter, especially if I'm actually staying in the same wider team. He could be bitter that I'm just moving over to the other team. But he's not. He's happy for me to move on. He's said some really nice things.
Because it is all delivering wider benefit, really, and it doesn't matter which team you're part of, as long as you're doing good things. Wow. What's your personal motivation for doing something like that?
So over the years, tried to help my dad, but he didn't and doesn't really want to be helped. He's someone
was he drug user? I mean, everything is a drug. Alcohol is a drug. It's just legal. That's the difference.
He's had his problems with substances over the years. But he's very much someone who blamed the world for his own choices, and this is actually quite funny. He once asked me advice on, I think it wasn't actually drug and alcohol specific, but it was mental health specific. And so I gave him some advice. I was like, you know, sometimes you've got to take it as your own responsibility. You've got to make changes before you see changes, stuff like that. And at the end, he said, well, we're not all perfect like you. And I didn't hear from him for 6 months. That was, for me, I thought there's something I can laugh about there, you know, because he asked me for advice. I wasn't just like, you know, preaching to him. I just thought it was so funny that
it was it was wanted actually. It was
but then he didn't get what he wanted to hear, so he he retreated. But so now I help other people who actually sometimes seemingly want to get help. But
okay. So do you think people can be rescued? Because somebody once told me, I mean, you're talking to the person whose husband died of alcoholism.
I didn't know that.
And no, he died when he was 48. He died from liver cirrhosis. It's not a secret. I'm not, educated, superbly elite education, superb brain, mathematically like a genius. But actually, he had a very stressful job, having to defend a finance director in court over something that he didn't do. He just landed a new job, and the company got sued. And I just noticed he was like, every night he had to study like books from years ago, and he found out some things that could have actually been professionally kind of, a grey area. And he couldn't talk to anybody about it because he would have lost his, so he won the case for the finance director in the end, but actually he died because he just drank every day. The court case, I mean, it took just under a year.
So that was
but I
his
lost my husband.
coping mechanism.
It was his whole coping
Yeah.
mechanism.
Yeah.
And he just said, no, just leave me alone. And once this is over, we're going to move to the Balkans and I'm going to stop doing the shit. And
Even
we never
though-
got to go to the Balkans. And, you know, I'm like, I've had lots of healing to kind of get over that. But I still at times feel angry with that job, that they didn't give him support.
Yeah.
He gave them everything. Yeah, the boys had some payoff money from that company. But I feel that employers have a responsibility towards people that they employ, to, if they put them in the shit situation, to actually give them a little bit of a fucking help, you know, a little bit.
Yeah, I think
He
now,
wasn't a mental case. He was just a guy who took
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
When he set out to do something, he will see it through.
Yeah.
He did at the expense of actually his boys now living without a father.
In his own life, his own well-being. Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck? So
I think
that's
slowly
where
but surely the corporate world is starting to catch up.
Oh, surely.
Slowly but
After
surely.
being like so exploited.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I mean, the inability to speak to anybody about what he'd found, you know, for his
Yes.
professional reasons.
No, because
Would have
men
made
are
him
not
feel-
supposed to, apparently.
Yeah.
Men are supposed to, like, I'm like a gorillas. Like, what the fuck? No, talk about it. You're also human.
Yeah. That's a lonely place to be, to
It's-
feel you can't talk to anybody. And have you ever heard of the rat park study?
I did. You know, when they gave the rats, and please say that, because I did read about this, but give me a kind of your professional
So
assessment of
for a
that.
long time they were doing the studies
Yes.
on rats.
Yes.
And they, you know, they would give a choice between, I think, regular water and water that had been treated with cocaine.
Yes.
And so the rat would go to the cocaine water, and they were saying, see, proof, you know, it's choosing. People are naturally addicts. People are going to choose the drugs, so we need to ban the drugs.
Yes.
But a Dutch psychologist came
Yes.
in, and he came to the idea of bonding, and he said, if we don't have anybody to bond with, we're
Yes.
naturally social creatures, and if we don't have anyone to bond with, we will bond with something. And so
Oh
he
my
said,
gosh, yes.
these rats that we've been studying are all isolated.
Yes.
So why don't we try and create a society of rats and see
Yes.
then how this study fares in that
Yes.
situation. So he created something called Rat Park. It was almost like
It was a fun park for the rats.
yeah, like it had
Social
like, it had
scene.
wheels, but most of all,
Oh, yes.
it had other people,
Other living
people.
things, yeah,
It had
to
other
interact,
rats in
yes.
there as well, and it dropped, I think, by 50%.
Wow,
The amount
okay.
of rats that would actually choose the cocaine water.
So would you use something like that for? I mean, I know it sounds like you know, we normally do these studies on mice and rats because apparently they're quite similar to humans. But do centers and stuff for drug addiction and stuff? Do they have something like that where there is something for them to do? Writing gym, like comedians. I'm kind of thinking
Yeah.
for comedians, we have writing gyms,
Yeah,
we have
yeah.
gigs, we have our kind of addiction
we have got
centers,
that
you know.
stuff. That's why we work with a lot of other community organisations. So
Yes.
at the moment, we're working with a very good organisation called Cardboard Citizens, who do a lot
Uh-huh.
of theatre.
That's nice, yeah.
And we've got a creative writing course. It's a 10-week course,
Lovely.
I think.
Yes.
It started today, actually.
Yes.
And I've seen in the past, I've seen a couple of Cardboard Citizen shows. So
Mhm.
those things, there are those things, but also there's the group work that we do,
Yes.
because we realise it helps to alleviate the loneliness. Isolation and boredom are two of the biggest triggers out there.
Yes. Okay.
And they're two of the biggest reasons for starting to use problematically as well, because you know,
Yes.
like every now and again on a weekend we understand that that might not be a problem, but it's when you're waking up on a Tuesday morning thinking,
Yes.
I'm gonna do this nap, that's when it's started to creep in, and it's gonna cause you problems unless you're a millionaire and unless you are surrounded by people. But if you're locking yourself in your house Tuesday morning, the only time you go out is to meet a dealer, clearly something's not right, you know. So
Yes.
isolation and boredom, we try to alleviate those with the group work. We signpost people to other mutual aids as well. So, you know, your AAs, your CAs, your NAs.
What are those?
Like
Alcoholic Anonymous. Yes,
Cocaine
okay.
Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous.
Oh, okay.
These are places where you can get sort of peer support and, you know, meet other people. The conformity aspect of it as well is very powerful. So if you are brand new to service and you're not sure how much progress you're going to make, but you go to a group where 60% of the people there have already achieved their goals, but still come in for that support and that peer support and meeting new people, it's much more likely to have a positive effect on you. You're much more likely to decide to make those changes as well. So there is a conformity aspect to it as well.
Okay, that's interesting. Yes.
Almost like positive peer pressure.
That's right. Yes. Well, also, I mean, you know, when you think about it, we are all surrounded by our kind of inner circle, as we would call it. But did you know that actually they've done analysis that you earn an average of what everybody in your inner circle earns?
Yeah,
did you know that? That's the peer
it's
kind of
quite
influence.
Interesting, because you're much more likely to push harder if everybody around you is earning much more than you.
That's it. Yes, it motivates you intrinsically. Yes. Wonderful. Oh, gosh, how do we get out of this now? Because we're nearly in Bedford.
Are we? Okay.
No, it just. What would you say to your?
Is there any way we could stop for a wee? But if we're nearly there, it's fine.
Yes. This is being recorded.
Were we meant to pick someone up?
No, actually, Carl and Maya, they're all on the trains. You know, they were already on the trains when I called. I said, well, Danny and I can pick you up, but no. But it's nice because we managed to. You know what? I'm going to share this with Dr. Audrey Tagg because she's the top UK mental health expert. So you get to meet her tonight.
Wow. Oh, she's here today.
She is going to be there today. And I'm going to pass on this footage to her because she also may want to invite you to one of her podcasts and stuff like that, because, you know, professionally that you kind of align yourself more than I do, you know.
There's a lot of crossover there.
Absolutely. You do that for a living, and she also gives advice to men's health and psychology today, all those kind of places, and often on subjects like this. And the whole point of Skids and Quibbles, which I'm going to add now, just, you know, it's nice, peace. Oh, this doesn't mean peace.
No.
I'm just pretending. I don't know English signs. Skids and Quibbles is actually about, interestingly enough, and I'm so delighted when we've known each other for years, Danny. When you came back and emailed me, because I was like, I've been meaning to contact you. I wanted to book you for ages, you know. So it was like, yay! He finally writes.
I did sort of quit for a while, but I keep learning.
We all sort of quit sometimes. Comedy. It's a brutal environment.
But I sometimes, when I say, oh, I'm quitting and that's it, I've had a lovely time, I may be back in the future. What I should do is not make those posts and just take a break. I don't need to.
You make posts on social media saying goodbye to everybody.
Oh, it's been lovely in comedy. I'm going to take some time. Like, who the fuck do I think I am?
Oh my god! And then people comment. I love for those posts. I don't even read the posts. I actually read the comments. He goes again. Please don't kill yourself. No. But I've done it too, because you know there are sometimes it's so tough. You know, like once I was told I wanted to book myself on the gig, and the response was from a white male who shall remain unnamed. I'm not going to be that unprofessional, but he responded, I already have a woman on the bill. And I'm like, out of 5 acts, you've got one woman. Wow, how progressive of you.
I know. Was this must have
really
been the
threw
last,
me, you know.
5 years? How long have you been going?
7.
7 years.
Seven. But a few gigs that I did to start with were just, I was hiding. And I didn't bomb. The worst thing was, in my first year, I actually did really well. And then I did the courses. And then I bombed more. But actually, the bombing was more valuable as a learning.
Yeah, when I did a clowning course, one of the most... So I did clowning course before I did stand-up.
Uh-huh.
And when I first started stand-up, I almost forgot everything I learned in the clowning course. Because I was like, well, this is not physical theatre, I'm doing stand-up.
Yeah.
But then when I started to think back on what I learned in the clowning course, it's so, like if you tell a joke, and it doesn't land, the urge is to just talk over it and keep moving. But actually, there's so much more power in holding the position.
Yes, in stillness and silence.
And let there be a bit of silence. A wonderful lady called Petra from a clown group called Spy Monkey, who've put shows on around the world.
Yes.
She taught us learn to live in the death. Is how she put it. I think something like that. See what life can come out of the death.
Yes.
And it's so true on any kind of stage work.
Yes.
I was at a stand-up show recently, and someone who headlined the first section was just like full-on stream of consciousness, and there were no breaks, there was no pause, there was no interaction. He was walking side to side, looking side to side, and I was so mad. Very established person, very experienced, maybe not as a stand-up, but definitely as an actor.
Yes.
But I was like, there's no stagecraft here at all.
Yes.
And the laughter he was getting came from little moments where he might shout C word here, or he'd go like into the mic there. And that was where the laughter was coming, and I thought, well, technically, it's not even you getting the laugh, it's just those noises, it's that buzzword. And I just, I don't know, there was something about it that made me actually angry. I was quite angry.
No,
like, this is not
true.
You've got to pause, you've got,
But that's all it means. You are passionate about them, you care, you give a shit,
But it also means I don't actually enjoy watching stand-up as much as I used to, because it's too much. Unless I know I'm going to see someone I like, maybe. But if I'm going to a gig where I'm not quite sure who's on, I'm not talking about open mics. I enjoy open mics loads, because anything can happen. Hosting open mic shows, or even sort of semi-pro level shows, I love it, because we're very aware people are trying stuff out. People are working out bits, and for me that's seeing how the sausage is made, as they say. That is such a wonderful part of the process that I love it. Whereas when you go to a pro gig, if you go to a pro gig, and I just find that pro gig, even though I've got no place to be doing this, I'm not like international best-selling comedian or anything like that. There's something about me that loves the craft so much that it just in the back of my head, I'm like, well that was an easy punchline. Oh, you've stepped on your own laugh there. Oh, you didn't even look at the audience saying that. And that is, it's just who I am, because when I was a baker, completely went off cakes because I was so critical. I was like, that's not a good cake. And so like, it's just part of who I am. It's not anything. I could even be completely wrong. 20 people could eat that same cake and say this is delicious, but because I'm kind of convinced myself, oh, I know the ins and outs, so it's more my problem than anybody else's. But it does come from passion, at least. I know that much.
Yes. Now, final question. I've actually thought about this, how to get out of this on a positive note. So when you're gigging, and this is, I know you have a partner now, so that's fine, but before, how easy is it to pick up, when you an act in the comedy and stuff? Do you get audiences, somebody spots you like, hi, whatever? Because I've observed.
You mean like being on the pool sort of thing?
Yeah, being on the pool.
Well, here's the thing. It's never happened.
It's never happened to you.
I've never
Oh.
Well, here's the thing. For the first few years, I was in a long-term relationship with,
Okay, that's different. Yes.
with the mother of my children.
Yes.
Then I
So
had-
you didn't even look at it. You weren't
No,
in that
I may have.
mindset.
I think if anything came my way, I didn't even notice.
Yes.
Even though we were kind of on and off, like loads, such a sort of like.
It was a dynamic
I
relationship.
won't say toxic relationship. The dynamic is much more
Positive,
kind,
yes.
yeah.
Dynamic, yes.
I just don't think I ever thought of stand up as that.
Yes.
And also, I think maybe in the back of my mind, I always thought if I dated someone or did anything with someone from the circuit,
Yes.
I'm such an awkward person that if that didn't go right, I would have to leave stand up.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my
yeah, I
gosh,
think so.
yes.
And then I had a period of being single before I met my wife now, but
Yes.
there may have been a couple of things, but again, I can be so awkward and so second guess. Is that, I don't know what this is. Like, is this, and I just mess things up before they've even begun. I think. So,
Well, you are the first ever comedian that I've spoken to that hasn't picked up doing the comedy. So even I have.
again, maybe I have, but I just didn't notice, and it just flew
Yes.
straight
Yeah,
past.
yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well, wonderful. Well, Danny Walsh.
Feel really
I
left out now.
No, even I picked
a
out.
brand
you
new
know.
level of insecurity has entered
Yes.
my personality now. So.
Even I picked out Cougar Gordy. I picked out Toby, 25-year-old, when I was like 40 something. And I
Is
picked
he an
him up
actor or
No,
an
he was audience
Okay.
member, rugby player. Oh my God, body. Oh,
Oof.
yes.
Yeah.
But I made a joke out of him. He was actually sitting with mates in the front row, and I was like, "I'm a cougar, you better watch it, boy." And he basically contributed towards me being voted off. I got voted off at 4 minutes 38 seconds.
Oh, this was in a
Up
gong
the creek.
show.
Yeah.
Okay.
I needed 22 seconds to make it through the 5 minutes. Do you know?
Damn you, Toby.
Damn you, Toby. That's right. Do you know what Toby did? The first thing after I left, I watched the video, announcement and stuff like that, because I am like that. I actually like when I'm at an event to celebrate an end-to-end process. I won't just be selfish and walk out, halfway through somebody else's set because my comedy is more important than theirs. No, everybody's here on the journey. You fucking respect every single act of them. So I saw the end of it, and as they were, MC was announcing kind of, oh, we're here tomorrow. We have this and that, and I was like making my way out. Toby was waiting by my car outside.
Your car.
Yeah. And he was like, I'm on the way. You can drop me off at Bermondsey.
Wow.
He knew where I parked.
Yeah. Very, very.
Very detailed and
Very
thorough.
forward. Very confident.
And since
But
he was
also
on the
I
way,
would
I had to
say,
drop him off.
in a callback,
Yes.
I would say that he's left confident
Yes.
and he's gone into cocky.
That's
in that
right.
situation.
Yes.
But if you
yes.
did tell him, basically from the stage,
Yes.
I want you, he knew he could be cocky, I guess.
Yes, I did tell him that that I was like really struggling. Looking at that body, I was like, seriously, dude, you're blocking the view. No, great rugby body, but hey, I will cut that out probably. But hey,
That's for the late edition.
the late edition of this interview. Yes, you got me blushing now, Danny. Okay, wonderful. Yeah, we're nearly there, but really delighted. That was